you say people are just looting and stealing trainers and stuff like that. See, when you see a black man get killed, you're angry. And you remember there are different types of people here. There are like low-level people. You've got maybe politicians. You've got lawyers. Street guys are going to do what street guys do, and you're going to be angry. Imagine if you got a brother gets killed. Are you going to be speaking in a rash way? So I think everything matters. Low-level crime matters. Looting, burning things down matters. Then we need lawyers to have conversations. We need all the NBA stars, footballers. We need all the African leaders. So every part of the layer needs to happen. We need to cause chaos. So every time you kill a black man, there's hundreds of burning cars and stuff. So there has to be consequences. Because they're just...
The house rules is very simple. If you're not talking, just mute your mic so we don't get all your audio feeding back in. There's no language restrictions, so you can be as colorful and as expressive as you need to be. Respect is the theme, so please keep it brief, get straight to the point. We're trying to hear from everybody. So with that said, thank you all for joining the call once again.
Hi, Charlie. You saw my post. I have an autistic son who's 18 years old and nonverbal. The sweetest kid ever, but you know, he's almost 6'5". He's huge.
He's a big guy, right?
And he's a big kid. And I live in a white neighborhood. And unfortunately, you know, we have to live in this neighborhood to get better education sometimes. It scared me because sometimes he walks outside and he might walk into a neighbor's, you know, he doesn't walk outside often, but I don't want my neighbors at night to see a big strapping black guy and be afraid, because they get afraid easily. You know, we're on a group chat, and some of my neighbors, they see people driving around, they go on the group chat, can we, you know, who's that? Does anybody know who that is? Should I call the police? Everybody goes on the group chat to talk about it. So I sent a message to the group chat saying, hey, in light of everything happening, this is my son. Some of you towards the end of the street may not know him, but he's mild, he's autistic, he's nonverbal, he likes to move around. If a cop pulls him over and tells him to stop, he's not going to stop, because walking around is what calms him. This is him right now, walking around. But that's what calms him. And nobody, when I say I had 4 neighbors who commented, 3 of them were black, the only 3 black people on the street, and nobody else commented. Nobody else said anything. Nobody else, they're not talking, but they're not ready to talk about it.
I'll tell you what, for 3 days, I felt rage in me. Honestly, I felt rage in me, because ever since my kids were born, I've got a 6-year-old daughter and I've got a 9-year-old daughter. Bear in mind, they're born in the UK. Ever since they were born, I think from the age of 2, even though my child could barely speak, every time any of this kind of incident happens, I will sit down and I will try and explain, or I will write him an email that goes to his email for him to eventually read when he grows up. But I will make videos of it. And constantly, since he was 2, that's my son, he's now 9, I've done that. And there's so many incidents that have happened in America, and every time I will have to do something about it, at least trying to educate him. And I think what got me this time, because the day before, what happened was the whole thing with the woman at Central Park. And then the next day, this whole George Floyd thing happened. I watched the video. I actually was in tears. I was in tears, and I felt so much anger. For the next 3 days, my whole spirit was not normal, or more so, because I always show the videos to my kids. I don't care how old they are. I always show the videos, but this one was so much that I could not show them the video. All I had to do was explain the whole thing to them. And my daughter came to me, it's like, why do they kill us, Daddy? Why do they kill black people? I don't know how to answer that.
So I have a son, a 2-year-old son, and I'm in the state of New Jersey, you know, and I think about it often. Even before I gave birth to my son, I always said, because of the neighborhood that I live in, once I have a child, I'm going to move to put my child in a better district just for the school environment and just for the living environment.
Right.
And we're all running from the neighborhood that we live in to give our children a better
chance, right?
A better fighting chance. You know, I have a husband. My husband is a Black man by definition and literally complexion. At night, you do not see him. He's 6'4". My husband is a gentle giant at 6'4". And all I can think about is just imagine, my husband works late. Just imagine my husband coming home and a cop pulls him over and he doesn't even have a chance to even explain anything and they shoot him. Just imagine when my child gets older and my child is walking home or playing somewhere in a basketball court or doing something and he's gunned down. But then I turn around and think about it. I said, okay, I'm running from a Black neighborhood because there's always gun violence. They're killing their own. Something's always happening. And then I still want to go
something else I want to get into.
In a white neighborhood where they're still gunning them down. So it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Where are we going?
Okay, I want to focus on the perfect solution, because sometimes it takes something like this for Black people to wake up. Because the Rodney King days, nobody woke up. Many other things went on, nobody woke up. So sometimes it takes this for us to wake up, and I think we're gonna wake up.
And by wake up, what do you mean? What do you mean wake up?
Okay, let me elaborate. Let me elaborate.
Wake up. How many years? Why is everybody still sleeping? When are you gonna wake up? You're gonna wake up when half of the community is wiped out. How many? This is not the first, second, third, 10th, 20th. How many incidents?
What I mean by waking up is this. We need to go back and educate our generation, ourselves, about our history.
But I think that's happening already, right? You don't think people are getting educated on history?
Not necessarily.
No. Okay,
what's that got to do with the killing of Black men?
That has nothing to do as a greater scale of killing of Black people. I'm not saying that, but that's the start. That's a start, because if we're educated, and when you're educated, if our history, we'll unite, like we're uniting now. We'll be like-minded. We obviously now are going to be expanding our own business, because what we are as Black people, we're not united. When we're united, they're scared of us.
I thought what you're saying there is because when we need to educate ourselves, it's our mindset. Our mindset is not like in a way where we understand how the universe works. When I say that, I mean basically these kind of shootings happening in America or anything in terms of racism keeps repeating itself because we're not understanding how our mind works. Obviously, those individuals who are orchestrating these types of events or incidents, I do believe there are individuals that are orchestrating these events, these COVID-19, anything that's happened, 9/11, I do believe that. And when we get our mind right and understand how the universe works, it's all energy. We are all made up of energy and vibration. Whatever we have within ourselves, if it's anger, hatred, it's going to manifest into our reality. When we have anger with what's going on, which is a sad thing, that the guy being shot in America, it's a sad thing. I don't want to see that happen. But because we're angry now, we go out now and start looting these buildings and taking TVs and whatnot, trainers and all this kind of nonsense. Instead of like addressing the issue, which is our own mind, and for real unity, everyone being on the same kind of wavelength.
I disagree with that, you know.
Okay, all right. I'll let somebody else.
I'm lost.
I'll let somebody else go. Go on, Mike.
Can I say something?
Chris.
Yeah, go on, Mike.
Chris, yeah. You say people are just looting and stealing trainers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
See, when you see a Black man get killed, you're angry. And you remember there are different types of people here. There are like low-level people. You've got maybe politicians, you've got lawyers. Street guys are going to do what street guys do. And you're going to be angry. Imagine if you've got a brother gets killed. Are you going to be speaking in a rash way. So I think everything matters. Low level crime matters. Looting, burning things down matters. Then we need lawyers to have conversations. We need all the NBA stars, footballers. We need all the African leaders. So every part of the layer needs to happen. We need to cause chaos. So every time you kill a black man, there's hundreds of burning cars and stuff. So there has to be consequences. Because they're just taking the piss every day.
I strongly agree with that.
You know, when you see a video, you think, oh, another black man. It's becoming normal. It's becoming normal. That's not right, man.
Hi, everybody. Peter. Black people have been doing peaceful protests. Black people have been showing that we're not happy with the way we've been treated. We've tried the marches, we've tried the, kneeling down, we've tried, boycotting certain clothes. We've tried a lot of stuff. Right. And it just seems to be perpetuating that they just keep on to the point where it's like, I saw a meme someone put out just recently saying that there's a guy who shot a dog and he had a longer sentence than
Michael Vick. He didn't even shoot the dog. He didn't even shoot the dog. It was it was dog fighting in his house. Michael Vick used to play for the Philadelphia. No, I forget who he was playing for at the time, but
even worse. That makes it even worse because the dog's okay. So that makes it even worse that for someone doing dog fighting gets sentenced to a longer term in prison than all the police officers that's taken lives. That means that America is basically telling to black people's faces that, look, you are beneath even what we consider dogs. Because the thing is, it's getting to the point where I'm getting desensitized. I'm seeing deaths every time, and it hurts because you're just looking at your own people and just thinking, you know what? I'm going to say something that's probably going to be very unpopular right now. And it's going to be something that, a lot of previous people have actually said. There's going to come a time then, because look at this, people were protesting this guy that just got his neck stepped on, They had 22 armed officers to stop the protest. When the NRA were all running down because they wanted haircuts, they wanted shops to be open, they're walking around the streets with their guns. No one bat an eyelid.
100%.
So my thing is like, if black people now all start, almost like doing like a guardian
protest.
That's exactly what I was just saying. Michael's right. When police officers are doing bad, just walk up to them with guns. Don't pull it out, but surround them so you're watching what they're doing next. It will make them less trigger happy to wanting to shoot the suspect when they know that the whole bunch of people are united and they're all armed with legal firearms.
Right.
With right to carry. Then let's see how well they misbehave.
First things first, it's not a situation that everyone's not feeling. Everyone's feeling for this in different ways, as you can clearly see. And as Michael said, there are levels to this, isn't it? So quite simply, in every level, there should be some sort of chaos caused because everyone's hurting, needs to be a solution, and the system's broken. So if we form an alliance where black stands for blacks, which basically means if you kill one of us, you won't have peace. And you keep doing that.
But
every time you hear another death,
there's another. All of this is going to lead to a race war.
Well, that's the thing. It's not really a race war because it's always a race war. It's always been, as you said, a dog is considered. It's crazy. So I feel like black people need to go back to a situation where, because it's bound to happen. How else are you going to allow people that are educated enough to see what's wrong in front of them and say nothing about it? They're going to react.
Chris, I get the whole thing about positive vibration and how the universe works. But when we're talking about being peaceful, don't forget, Martin Luther King was peaceful and he got assassinated. If you're talking about the Bible, Jesus was peaceful and he got assassinated. So there is a time when you can be peaceful and there's a time when you have to create chaos to basically show it's time to move on. For many, many years, black people have been peaceful. This is not about black on black crimes. I don't care about that right now. It's not about black on black crimes. It's about white and black crimes. It's about racism. For years, for generation, Black people have had to suffer. We've tried everything. We've tried to be peaceful, and it's reached that point. And I think this is where it starts. And I think 2020 is going to change this. It's reached that point where we cannot be peaceful anymore.
Well, quite simply, if you have a black leadership that deals with matters concerning to black matters, and then we stand for that and we do all kind of anarchy or whatever thing just to push that, right, we will still be able to govern ourselves. All that whole black on black violence, all that gangster will also be accountable to us. We're going to do our matter. We're going to do everything concerning us, the good and the bad. So now black people now be accountable to black people.
Now let's think about this. How many times have you seen a Chinese man being murdered? And what happens in America? It doesn't happen because you know why? China will come down with full force on you. They have the economic power. They have the country to basically back them to basically do so. Again, think about the Jews. It will not happen. Any other country that's got power, whether it's economical power, whether it's military power, it will not happen. Africa and the Caribbeans do not have that. So therefore, our black people constantly get killed because they know we are not united to come and fight together as one.
Great points, man. Great points. Great points.
For the longest time, Americans, especially black Americans, did not care to be Africans. You call a black African American and I'm African, they'll tell you I'm not African, I'm African American. But now they're saying they want to be Africa. Come home and you'll see what the difference is when we embrace you.
When I started out as a youth, I've always been eager to go back home to Africa. As soon as I was old enough, at age 21, when I graduated college, I used my music as a stepping stone to go back to Africa. That I definitely did. A lot of people are aware of that. Made me a pioneer of African hip hop movement. But most people, I won't lie to you, when you say come back home, I have been on the come back home mission, but I've had people trick me, lie to me, steal from me, or everything you can think of. I'm still giving back home to Africa. And right. I'm still looking for ways to come back home, finding other ways around.
What are you saying? Are you saying it's difficult to go back home?
I'm saying it's not as simple. And it's something that I've been on and I've been pushing and I've been telling that story. And even to Puff Daddy and all those people before they saw that it was hot now. I told Puffy this 20 years ago.
I agree.
Years ago. All of this, we were on this, me and my brother, before my brother was killed by another black American. We were on this. This is how we started journeying back home. Mm-hmm. Then we came back here and he was killed by another black American. So yes, black on black crime does exist. We're killing ourselves. We're hating on ourselves. We're stomping ourselves down. And honestly, to me, that's probably one of my biggest problems in life. Honestly, not anything else. Not even the white people or this other kind of stuff. I feel like I've gotten to the point where I love everybody because I shunned my own white best friends at a time to run back to Africa because I was like, wait a minute. What's this? I want to wake up to my people. And then I saw the fakeness that goes on even within our own people back home in Nigeria. So, I went through a period where I let that, affect me. But now I don't care. I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep igniting the fire in my people to come back home regardless.
I am so against violence, but sometimes you do have to light a fire into something. And just sometimes you have to do that to get people to wake up. They reacted quickly. They they arrested the police officer, but it's a start. And hopefully something else will happen. But
don't you think that arrest came a little bit too late?
No, because that's
way too late.
No. It not too late as opposed to not happening at all. And really the legal system is slow. Whether for us or for everyone, it's slow at times. And they arrested him. They brought charges in 4 days. It doesn't. I'm married to a lawyer. It doesn't happen that quickly. So, it happened. It may have. It happened.
Okay.
And which is why I'm happy. I say, okay, fine. The fires was a great idea. It was a good. It it led people to pay attention. So
Right.
what else? We can't keep lighting everything up. We can't keep, we can't keep
So
lighting
you're
up.
saying part of the violence has been good, right? There's been some good come out of the violence.
Yes, but we cannot continue
that's
to
what
fight.
you like.
But we can't continue with the violence.
That's
cannot
what
continue to
I
fight.
disagree. I disagree with that. Yeah, my question is this, yeah. In the military, if you so much as fire your gun without being told so, you're court-martialed. There's a high level of discipline for anybody who fires their weapon without being authorization. Why is it that police are allowed to kill unarmed civilians? And it's not just black, because there have been some white murders out there. Why are they allowed to fire their guns willy-nilly, at unarmed civilians?
That's not sure the
without
police has to
repercussions?
change.
Because the thing is, fair enough, be fair for your life, but there should be repercussions. If you fire your gun,
Of
you fire your gun,
of course,
you should be reprimanded. They should
hold
be
on.
consequences.
Let him finish his point, then yeah, if you want to
Because here's what's happening, because
Right.
they seem to want to paint this narrative and make it a black versus white thing. Because even when that riots were happening, I can see that there was a lot of unified people. There was white, black, Asians, all looting, all doing the thing. Because just to bear in mind, what my sister just said here about people being at home, losing their jobs, frustrated, tired, a lot of them just needed that little catalyst to go out and wild out. And that was the catalyst. So people should stop listening to that media and thinking that it was just a whole bunch of black people going out and acting the fool. Yes, black people were upset, but it was a united thing. A lot of people came out and was rioting. The police need to be held to a higher standard.
In terms of, us as black people or the people in America needing that catalyst to go out and wild out. I don't think necessarily they would have done that. And from some of the stuff I've seen and I've read as well, half of this instigation is done by the police themselves.
Yes.
They want to instigate that, so obviously we could then wild out and they say, yes, this is what we're doing. This is the situation.
So it justifies their action. They say black people did this, so now we're justified in our killing. And that is
So what do you say we should do? Continue kill. What do you say we should do? Continue lighting things up, continue fighting in that sense?
No, we should be smarter. Look at what's happening in China right now.
Exactly.
They are right. No, but the thing is,
well, hold on a second. I think you're both making a similar point. Charlene started saying the violence was necessary to wake as a wake up call. Yeah. She's saying we need to move away from the violence now, right? And
we need to be smarter. We need to be smarter.
And you're saying we need to be smarter.
Need to be held accountable. They cannot keep hiding behind their unions that protects them, and they know, oh, we kill somebody, we might get a slap on the wrist. But that culture has to change.
Right.
Yes.
The unions that protect the police officers have to change. We cannot keep. I mean, a lot of racists, a lot of these white guys go into these fields because it gives them a badge that they can.
Exactly.
Right. They feel this is their sport, and this is where you go when you want to do this.
And you're raising a great point. You're raising a great point about the police union, because right now those guys they're being afforded a great legal team. They have not only that, they have what's lobbying. There's a lot of lobbying going on behind the scene to make sure, and they tying in not just this one isolated case, they're tying in everything in terms of the police force. So in terms of the police union, you have to understand how powerful they are. And let's not forget, we're also in an election year where they can use some of this as leverage to press the leaders and say, look, if XYZ happens, you're not gonna get our backing in terms of votes. So we as black people also have to start looking at what we can do in terms of leverage, in terms of leveraging our power and our position as well.
Being smarter. What you said there is beautiful. That's what I meant by being smarter. Because you can't just be angry with no direction.
Hi guys. Our greatest problem as black people is lack of unity.
Right.
I think the easiest way to tear down a black man is to send another black man.
Yep.
We black boys, we break bread together, but we can't even tolerate each other.
Exactly.
One little mistake. Just one little mistake, a brother's ready to cut you off. It will fuck you over straight.
I think the most important thing for us, number one, is to really work on ourselves. Because after all this noise, this riot, nothing's going to change.
For real.
And I tell you for free, if you love me as a brother and you look after me as a brother, it's difficult for a stranger to disrespect me. He's gonna worry. Like me and bro Charlie, we hustle a lot in London, and ask him how many times we could have been killed. But because of unity, just 2 mans. We've had cases where we had 2 mans up, 10 mans, 5 mans, just 2 of us. We made moves, power moves, and we're like, shit. Why? Because we had each other's back. And that's what black boys need to have now. I think there's this muscle, I'm more than you, I'm making more money than you, you don't know who I am. There's hate, bro. There's hate. Look, I don't worry anymore about racism from black people, because the one I get from myself, someone said, go back home. Our countries are worse, bro.
Sammy, I get that. Sorry if I just jump in there briefly. I get
Go ahead, Cash. Go ahead.
I understand your thing about us not loving each other, but it happens in every community. But why do we always put up on the black community? This is what the media portrays. This is what they constantly put out there.
Bro, it's not the media, big bro. It's not the media.
It's not the media. It's what's happening. That is life,
bro. Yesterday.
But hold on 1 second. I think to Cash's point, like we talk about black on black crime. I don't like that label. I think it's just crime, right? If you're in a community, you're more likely to carry out crime against those.
Charlie, let's call it what it is.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Can we just separate issues, right? Because we're mixing up so many issues at the moment. I didn't really come here to say something, but I have to say something to that.
Thank you, Tina.
Because we know within the black thing, we have issues, gun violence, all of that. That is separate from this, right?
Right.
We're talking about the institutional racism. We're talking about police officers, law enforcement. They're meant to be there to protect them, okay? We're talking about white privilege here, which is separate from our issues. We know we have our problems, right? As a black woman, I don't know earlier this week, did you watch the video of that lady that worked, the late in Central Park? That basically threatened the black man that she was going to call the police officer on him, right? Just because she was told to do something that she didn't want to do, put your dog on the leash. Right. And she said, I'm going to call the police and let them know. She was calling, she said, that I'll let them know there's a African-American man threatening my life. And she knew what she was doing, because she knew by doing that, that was an act of violence. She knew that she was threatening that man, and once she called the police, what would happen?
Right.
And she proceeded to call and perform, and almost performing out like, oh, I'm really scared. Like literally watching that just gave me, I was so enraged, like chill, like you as a white woman knew the power that you had. You didn't understand, they always say they didn't understand. She knew the privilege she had and she used it. And it was very dangerous. Can you imagine knowing that by just calling law enforcement and saying a black man, an African-American man, and that was enough, and you knew that they would come down, and what the police did later on, the consequences of that, we saw it live to our own face, where this black man was being choked to death. And people are crying around and saying, stop, he's dying. And that police officer at that moment knew what he was doing. He had his knee on his neck. A separate day to discuss issues that we have ourselves as people, as black community, has their own problem, you know, black on black crime, all of that. I get really enraged when this comes up, where police officers are killing black men, people, right, with impunity, because they know they can get away with it. And then the issues are mixed up with something that, to me, totally irrelevant.
We need to know who the enemy is. When we're talking about the police and their system,
right?
First things first, the police in the United States was built on slavery, because back in the days, slavery times, it was a slave patrol. So we need to understand that.
from the get-go. They never was built for us. We built America wealth, that's one thing. But in regards of the system, they've always been against us. So we need to know who our enemies are, for one. For two, the police in the United States is part of the KKK. Let's be clear on that. There's no confusion about that.
So what would you say about black brothers in the police force then?
Those, for me, those, they may have a good intention in regards to, you know, doing their jobs and that. However, I don't believe that they are part of the KKK. I believe that they may have some good intentions. However, they're completely lost. For me, I believe they are lost because they don't protect us. Some black.
So you think black
policemen
are lost?
Hold on. What I'm saying is, some of them are completely lost. Let's be real, because they do worse. Some of them do worse than white people. Some of them do worse than white people.
You can't label all cops to be bad cops. Yes, we have some fucked up cops. There's no denying that. But every white cop is not a fucked up cop. Every white cop is not in KKK. Every black cop is not lost. Yes, you have some black officers that will pull over a black man and feel like they have a point to prove, so they overdo it. But not all cops are like that. And the reason why I'm defending this so much is because I have too many cop friends that don't stand for this shit. White and black, they don't stand for it.
Well, so hold on a second. Sorry.
That every cop is black, or the every white cop that's in a force is a part of KKK. Yes, right. The situation is fucked up. Yes, we have cops that are going around killing our people for no reason. Yes, we have cops that are our enemy. But in that same breath, we are also our own enemy. Let's not forget that. So it's like we have to stop pointing fingers at the white man. And a lot of people are gonna dislike what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Every time a white person, not just a cop, every time a white person kills a black person, everybody is in an uproar. Everybody's rioting. Everybody is looting. Yes, everybody can express how they feel in whichever way they want to feel. Yeah, we looting. We're messing up our own community. So who are you hurting? You're not going to riot and loot in the person's area that committed.
How many white people get killed like that and nothing has no consequence?
Hold on, Martina. Hold on. I'll come to you. Don't shout over her. So make your point.
Charlie, after Martina, I'll come in.
I'm sorry, Charlie, what did you say?
No, go ahead and make your point. Finish your point.
Okay, and then not only that, everybody, when a white person kills a black person, it's an uproar. Yes, right. We should be angry, but why not have the uproar every time a black man is killed? Why not have an uproar when another black person kills a black person? Have an uproar all around, not just when it's one particular race. I'm not saying that it's right, but let's not just say the white person did it. We have to destroy everything until they get the point. No, if we're going to destroy something, let's destroy something every time that a black man is killed, not just when a white person does it.
Okay, thanks, Ellen. So let me bring Martina in.
Yeah, I've got a question to Ellen. How many white men have you seen killed by the police officers that way, and they get away with it with impunity? They don't get, there's no consequences. There's been so many situations like this. This is what the uproar is about. There is no justice. There's no consequence for them killing black men. No reason. You know, initially it's because they resist us, so they're doing the, you know, even when you're not resist, even when you still get killed. So when you're talking about don't have an uproar, the difference here, how many white men or white people do you see that get killed by a white officer or any officer at all, and there's no consequence for their actions? How many do you see?
I'm not saying don't have an uproar.
No, but I want to answer that question. So when you're saying let's have the same uproar, the reason why there's an uproar is...
Hold on, you're both talking at the same time. Let her answer the question you just asked. Go ahead.
I'm not saying don't have an uproar. What I'm saying is have an uproar every time a black person is killed, not just a white person killing a black man. Every time a black person is killed, have an uproar. We shouldn't just want justice when a white person kills a black person.
But the reason is what you're saying is nonsensical, because at the end of the day, there's killings every day. White kill black people, black kill white, whatever. The difference here is that
the justice, right?
Justice, the injustice of it. That's the difference. You know that, well, there's killings every day. We know that, but you need to make a distinction here, okay? The black men are being killed by white police officers for no reason, and they get away with an consequence for it. And that's the reason why they continue to do it. You will not see the same happen to any other race. That is the point here. It is the injustice that people are outraged by. It isn't just about killing. We know killings happen, but people, then there's a consequence for it. There's been
Tina, why do you think it's not happening to other races?
It's not happening to other races.
Yeah, but why? Why do you think?
It's not happening to other races because they know they can't away with it.
Because they're united.
Because
they're united, man.
Get away with doing
because the upper race are united.
Can I finish? Look at the discussion we're having now. Rather than focusing on issues, we are all over the place. To me,
no, it's not, because everything.
Hold on. Let her finish her point.
This is separate, and it is true. So yeah, I agree with you. It's a lack of unity. We can't even come to a unified understanding of what is going on. Let me tell you something. I can't watch that film. I don't like it going around because it's desensitizing people to the fact that you can lynch a black man like fight so hard. I've never been
and everybody standing around, right?
That's a grown man crying for his mother, okay? And people stood around.
So I was gonna just continue to add to what Anderson had to say about the police. I strongly agree also. I feel the same way that the police system, it wasn't designed for us. And a lot of the people from the Ku Klux Klan, they moved in to be police officers. That is first and foremost. And in terms of what Ellen was saying, yes, it's true. We have a lot of our brothers and sisters that are in the police system. But you have to understand also that they're going into a system that wasn't designed for us. So there's only so much that they can do. It's a decision you have to make for yourself. Do I join this force? Do I try to implement the change from being a part of it? And those good cops that you speak of, whether they're black or they're white, there's a lot of them. But we have to find a way to also unite with them and rally with them. You know, the police officer that I interviewed just a few days ago spoke heavily about this. The way it is from the military to the police to the education, it's a system that America has created. The system that was built in place that we're not part of, basically. My thing on it, we've been talking about it. It goes back to that unity. My takeaway from this call, every little bit that we can do, we have to do it. So what are you doing? Ask yourself, like me, Madaraka, what are you doing today to effect change in our community? And it starts from the little that you do. Absolutely. You can join an organization. If you're a teacher, you can set aside small curriculum and teach children on Saturdays, even if it's 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, because our curriculum, I went to Sequoia with Chris and the rest of us over here. We didn't learn nothing about Black history or Black culture in our school.
And Black history is not just slavery.
And it's not just slavery. So we have to put education in place from when our children are very young. We're teaching them about themselves. And so that when somebody try to profile them, they know it doesn't mean anything. And empowerment. So, spending money within our community, teaching each other every day, do education. If you're in IT, what can you do to implement change in IT? If you're in clinical research, what can you do to implement change? It's going to be tough to have that one big, revolutionary movement. So the little that we can do every single day, we have to start doing it.
So every community have their own problem. The police force is there to protect everybody. not just a race. And we all work. They get paid from what we do, from our taxes. So I should have a confidence in the system that the police should protect me too, not just to protect a kind of sect of people. So this is the first thing I want you to understand. Even if there's a crime in our community, that does not mean that the police should not protect me or mistreat me, because I work and they get paid from that. They have to be fair to everybody. So moving forward from the last speaker, I think I buy your idea. My idea is that the Black community, we need to be well strategically organized. First thing, how do we do that? We have to start, how do we begin to be united, have our own system, support one another? You know, I think from there, when they see that, it's because they know that right now we are not united. We never speak with one voice. And everybody know that when you have a divided house, everybody can just capitalize on that.
I mean, Kira, I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's just like even me being here in Atlanta, I live like maybe 25 minutes from everything that's been going on for this weekend. And it feels like living in two different sides of the world, because at the end of the day, we got a curfew. We've been on curfew since, I guess, Friday night, because, you know, initially everything did start as a peaceful protest.
Right.
And so Friday, Saturday, we get an alert all through our phones telling us 9 o'clock, you know, the city is shut down. But then Saturday night, the governor comes up and says that, you know, just basically according to Trump's, you know, notion that nobody's spared. Like, if you out tonight, you're going to get in trouble. So what happens is you see people, what they're not showing necessarily directly on outside of the local channels, but on TV, the ones that got made examples for last night were not even the people that was causing the problems on Fridays and Saturdays. You see Lenox Mall, a very well-known, you know, mall here that completely got destroyed last night. You could, I mean, I literally, just from the footage that was sent out, maybe I saw 2 Black people, and it's not to be like, oh, because I saw, but it did at the same time, you saw somewhere else where this Black lady, she was begging. These 2 white women came up and started spray painting the Starbucks and everything and putting BLM, Black Lives Matter. And the lady was begging, like, if we needed your help, we would have asked you. We're not, you know, going around. This is not a demonstration to be going around and destroying things. Because what's happening is what I was trying to say. Last night, the Morehouse kids and Spelman kids, 85 has been shut down. So the highway has been shut down. They were the ones that was used as the example. They're in their cars trying to get to their, you know, maybe they came out for peaceful protest and now trying to get back to their families' destinations. And, you know, they were tasered, gassed, everything. Jeez. But they weren't the ones that was actually doing majority of the loot or the problem. But then, you know, you pick and choose. So it's just, it's unfortunate. It's just sad. And like I said, all this is going on like 25 minutes away from me. And I just feel like, you know, indirectly, like I'm in 2 separate, you know, different worlds. But, you know, like, there was some good points.
What's the situation like now? What's it like now? Is it
people right now there? It's like the daytime in the office buildings. Right now we're in phase 2, because the sad part is, like someone mentioned, we are dealing with a pandemic at the same time, right?
Exactly.
So now they put us in phase 2, where people are supposed to be, you know, slowly going back out to work. Well, the American Cancer Society has nothing to do with what's going on. Last night they destroyed the building, broke all the glass windows. So imagine when you think on Monday you've been in the house.
So do you think some of this could be like, you know, I know a lot of companies been locked down for a while, and I'm just exploring this concept. Maybe some of these companies would just rather even get an insurance claim for vandalism rather than, you know, having to.
You know, I mean, that is something to think about. That is something, because right now all parts play, because it was really, I was just really surprised. I was like, you know, these buildings downtown, like I was contracted when I first came home. I contract with CDC. So I've been home since like the first week of March. And, you know, like I said, they just now started putting the city in phase 2. People, you know, slowly, surely supposed to start going back into these offices and things. Nobody wants to go out there doing Monday morning.
Obviously, everyone might say, oh, you know, it's easier if everyone just goes back to Africa and, you know, stuff like that. But then you have a lot of people who was born in the US and born in the UK. But I truly believe the African leaders need to do this fight for us, because if the leaders don't come together and fight. It's like,
in what sense? In what sense? What can an African leader do?
I mean, they need to fight the fight that happened 400 years ago. That fight, they need to come together. All the African leaders need to speak. Barack Obama should be speaking to all the leaders, all the African leaders and stuff like that. Because, like, what in UK we're like 2% minority, in the States 5 to 10% minority. I mean, how we got no arm, we've got no police, we've got no Black Panther, we've got nothing.
But this is what I was
without an army, it's not really going to go nowhere.
I think first and foremost, we need to unlearn everything we've been taught and everything we've learned so far. I think education is key. I think we need to start supporting our own people, have that unity, buy Black owned, support our brothers and sisters out there. Let's create our own Black Wall Street again. This time they can't come around to burn it down because we'll be ready for them. Let's do that. Let's, get our Black Panthers up and running again. Let's get that protection system and protection units out there again, because once we have that, and if it's something where we're fighting fire with fire, I don't think they'll try that again, because they know they'll get.
So what you're saying, arm ourselves?
Absolutely. And like some of you guys have said, yes, the leaders need to support us, but if the leaders are being bought by other institutions to do their own bidding, how are the leaders going to support us? We might as well just sit there and be, sitting ducks. We need to take the steps and measures ourselves. I know, when they say, when they slap you on the right cheek, turn the left. Now we getting slapped both ways, and we're not doing anything. So I think it's time.
And actually, to your point, the protest in Michigan was an armed protest, and it was a whole lot more peaceful than what we've been seeing. So
there you go.
You might have a point there in terms of armed protest.
Yeah, no, I was just going to touch on what Michael was saying. Yes, we need our leaders to step through, but again, without the economical power, without the military power, they are still lifeless. They can't do jack shit. That's the problem. Like, we are not in any position where we can command and say, we're going to basically put sanctions against you guys because of what you've done to some of our citizens.
Yeah, we don't have that economic might. Yeah. We can't.
If you kill a Russian today, Putin is going to come down hard on you. If you kill a Saudi today, they could hold oil. You kill a Brit, like Britain might be able to do something. Like, there's so many. You kill any Chinese, they might say, okay, you know what? We're not trading with America, and America depend on so many of China goods. Right. The Chinese are right now in Africa basically getting all our commodities. They're building our schools, they're building our roads, they're building everything. They're taking over. Yet we are still comfortable over here. Like, Black Americans don't have a home in America. Black British don't have a home in Britain. And in Africa, where we've got home, the Chinese are taking over. In 100 years' time, we will have no home. So
even less
100, 100, yeah, exactly. Less than that.
Now, man.
Less than that.
I would say that we have to separate Africa and what's happening in the United States and Europe.
You can't.
No, you can't. You can't do that.
Wait, let me finish. Because, make your point.
Because we have to understand something. We have to understand something. The French control most of French-speaking African countries in West Africa. The English still control most English-speaking African countries in West Africa as well. What we need to put in place in here, in England, in the United States, in France, wherever, we need to make sure that we have our own leaders wherever we are. Our own leaders, our own economy, which means we have to have leaders within towns, leaders within communities, leaders within countries, essentially. Because if we have to connect Africa and Europe, the system is already broken.
The bottom line is, and I can't remember what this brother is, the brother that spoke before me.
Anderson,
the bottom line is, yeah, you say we can't compare Europe and Africa and everything. Bro, the world is one. There's Black people everywhere in the world.
I get that.
Not until, and this is the most difficult thing, and which we have to discuss, but not until we have a single Black nation, not even 3, not even 2, but one single black nation, right, that's got a nuclear weapon.
That's
that can sit on the round table with these boys.
Yep.
Not
yes.
until then.
Okay.
We will gain the respect that we need.
I get that.
Listen, this might not happen in 50 years, but it might start in 2020.
This is what I'm trying to say to you.
You gotta mess with America.
Just, nukes. Yeah, put you on the military table.
Hold on.
India has nukes.
Bro,
who are they controlling?
I'll just correct myself. What I meant to say is when you have nuclear weapons or when you have that program, that's when your country is developed enough, your economy is developed, you're developed politically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and
hold on. Stuff.
Hold on a second.
India has nukes.
So it's not literally.
Can India tell America, don't come to our country? No, they cannot. This is what I'm telling you. Having nuclear thing, I'm not saying it's not important. You can have it.
Right.
Like, the reason why I don't 100% buy that, look at Dubai. Once upon a time, that was desert.
Right.
They had they had independence a lot less. They've done in such a short period of time what most African countries have not been able to achieve.
Right.
Without nukes. Yeah. They just had the investment and they had to put their people first mentality. That is what black people need to do. None of this, oh yeah, let's wish. We need to be pragmatic and actually come up with proper solution and not just let the rage make us do self-destructive things.
My name is Omoye Uzambere. I'm calling from Nigeria. I do believe that until we have a strong black nation, a strong African nation that is willing to confront America on their treatment of black people in whatever country where racism is still being practiced, on every single act, they can't stop. There's no country strong enough to challenge them. There's no country they respect. And this is where we will say that Nigeria has failed black people all over the world. Because Nigeria was poised to be that country.
Right.
Yes.
Just really quick, she's making a very same point that I was saying, that yes, we do need to come back home. This is what I've been praying for years and years and speaking on. And honestly, just like he said, it's a mindset. My mindset as a youth was, if my black people in America and my black people back home in Africa could come together and we could start doing more things together, then we can educate each other, because we don't know back home in Africa about what we've been through here and vice versa. So we could come together. And it's not a wishful thinking because it happened. Just as I wished and envisioned and sang it in my rap song, Can You See My Vision, and all of that, it has happened. It's happening. It's called metaphysics. Like he said, when you put your mind to something and you act on it and you envision it and it actualizes. But the only thing is that we're losing, because entertainment is supposed to be a powerful voice. Like Omoye is saying, come together, come back home. And like Kaz is saying, and you yourself, Charlie, bring it together, come back home and be strong together. But unfortunately, we have leaders who are crooked back home. What are we going to do about that?
Whilst we're talking about solution, for me, see this right here? Some of you guys might have read this.
Yeah, The Art of War.
This here will help with solution. This here is a Bible, because this here is how.
In what sense? What's the art of war? What do we need to draw from that?
Just our way of basically thinking and our way of basically strategically moving our nation, moving forward to basically working together as one. Like, for me, when I read The Art of War, like, I get that. And if a lot of us read that, we have that same mindset, we can move on Africa.
Just a quick one though. Yes, it's a good book, but prior to actually going to that book, I think one need to understand and understand the purpose in life, or what they're out here to do. So I think probably if we're recommending books, I'll probably say one of the starters for most guys out there is The Way of the Superior Man by David Dida. I don't know if people have actually read that, but that would help a lot you know, especially young black guys as well.
Nice.
So,
hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth. I have a lot of friends because I went to school in Nigeria. I did secondary school in Nigeria. Left to me, I probably would have done university, but my parents brought me back.
Right.
Now, for me, I have a lot of friends who I went secondary school with who are still here and have started doing their own, getting their residency so they can stay here. Whereas I would have thought they would have taken their skills back home, because there is so many doctors.
But why haven't you taken your skills back home?
I want to take my skills back home. Like, Charles, you know my dad. Like, I would love to take my skills back home.
No, I'm just playing devil's advocate. You know, if you're talking about your friends going back home, that's what I'm asking you.
I wouldn't mind going back home because home is home to me. I always feel like I always have to work twice as hard just to get half the acknowledgement that my white counterparts will get, and that's not the case in Nigeria, because you'll get what you need to get based on what you know, or okay, it's based on who you know as well, but on what you know can take you very far. Whereas over here, all we're doing is trying to play catch up. And this whole riot situation, I understand people's hurt and people's pain,
right?
But destroying properties is not going to help. I think it just kind of makes them, it's like one of the ladies here said, we're playing into their hands. They know that we're going to be angry. They know that we are prone to break things. And for us doing that, they're just going to say, well, we told you those black people would do this.
Well, I mean, so in terms of that, so one of the reasons we're here is perception, right, of black people and our aggression. And when we look back to even George Floyd, this guy was it was already subdued. It wasn't being aggressive or anything at that point, and he was still killed. So does it matter what they really think about us is my point.
It doesn't matter, but then it should matter what you think of yourself.
That's right.
Because if I'm running around rioting and I'm breaking things, one, Floyd's family don't know me. All I'm going to do is cause myself more issues if somebody catches me on a camera, and then when all of this is blown over, they go back and take all the people that have been doing these things. I'm just causing myself more harm in the future. And looting, what is it really going to do? What is it really going to achieve? Me breaking into Gucci to get a few bags, what is it going to achieve there?
Yeah, well, in regards to the looting and the rioting protests, there's always going to be instigators there and people that are doing this. We know that. And actually, I've seen through the social media that they've had, there was a police officer that went into the protest and was actually the one that was instigating and breaking things. And he had himself covered up, and he was confronted by the protesters saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. So, and there's been loads of videos showing that this was a police officer, right? So you get the same people that they're protesting against coming in there to literally instigate and cause a riot, and they blame it on the protesters. So I don't think the idea that, you know, what are we doing, what black people are doing, we're rioting with this fair, you know, because a lot of the people there are actually protesting, and they cannot account for the instigators and the anarchists that come there just to cause problems. And a lot of them are actually white supremacy or people that just want to make the protesters look bad.
Yeah, my name is Larissa, and I work as legal counsel for a software company. I think it's unnecessary for them to smash up buildings and start fires. So it brings awareness about this matter. I mean, the fact that we're having this discussion right now is probably been prompted by what's happened in America. And from what I've seen on the press, I've seen black people do it, I've seen white people doing it. So I don't think we could see it as a black thing. I think that everybody's doing it. It's an injustice. And I think when you get to the point of saying, oh, makes black people look bad, I think that draws from the actual point. The point is that an innocent black man was held down whilst telling a police officer he could not breathe, and he was allowed to die. And nothing happened. Nothing happened until they smashed the place up, until they started fires. That's when he was arrested. So I think that say that is a black thing and we're making ourselves look bad. I think it's just detracting from the point that a man, I don't know if he's been buried yet, but you know, this is somebody's life that was taken.
I think someone made the point about we've been arguing about this since Rodney King days, and what has happened is we've got victory in pockets. So in the case of Rodney King, he got the payoff, and you know, he came out and, you know, with the famous quote, "Can we all just get along?" And you know, different cases, it's like we're getting victories in pockets, or those individuals will get a solution and then we'll all forget about it. I think what we need to push for is either legislation that affects us, you know, on it's a blanket or overall victory, right? Rather than just like, okay, the guys that killed George Floyd, they might get sent to jail. So what do we do afterwards? Do we, you know, we just carry on with life as usual? So this has been the problem. This is why we keep talking about it, because we haven't got an overall result. It's always been a pocket victory, and that's what I'm calling a pocket victory. Like,
yeah, thanks. I was just gonna say it's a great point you brought up, because, like you said, since Rodney King days, and we've had like so many others, right? We'll protest, we'll rally, there will be riots, then we'll go back to our normal life, right? And that's what I want to speak on. What is your normal life? What is your daily life? You know, you have to be about that life. You have to live the revolution. You have to live that every single day. The small step that you take, because we all live within the system, and the system is so powerful. It's so beyond us. Like, we can't really control it. So we have to break into small groups. First and foremost, I think it's very, very important for every single one of us to be part of some sort of a movement. You see, when you're a Christian, you go to church on Sundays, you're part of a movement. When you go to mosque on Fridays, you're part of a movement, right? So you don't have to wait for George to be killed, or maybe Jason 3 weeks from now, for you to do something and say something. Every week, even if it's once a week, do something. When you buy your clothes, when you buy your hair, you know, when you call people to come to your house, who those people are, you know, when your children go to school, what are they studying? How are you counteracting that? Because you may not be able to control the school system, but guess what? Oh, I know Charlie. Charlie's a teacher, and I can say, Charlie, can we implement a Black curriculum once a week for 5 children? Ellen talked about the communities that we live in. I'm the same, right? Move to, you know, a specific community to give our children a better education. But then we take control of this and say, you know what, we're going to start a school. We're going to teach them Black curriculum. We're going to teach them science from the African perspective. We're going to teach them technology from the African perspective. Those things are critical. They're so important. Not every single one of us are going to be able to move back to Africa. There are generations in America that don't have access to Africa. You know, saying Cash may go to Sierra Leone. I may go to Nigeria. Chris may go to Ghana. Then what about our millions of brothers and sisters that are in America? They are within this system. So within this system, we have to have our own system, which is what Anderson is speaking about, economic control and empowerment. We'll have to have that. Like, this is the American, if you're a Black person that is the American president, you're not a Black president. You know, you're just an American president that happens to be Black. You can't change that system. You don't mean nothing to us. If you're a police officer, the brother I spoke to the other, he's a police officer, and he said he's Black. And he said sometimes when his brothers, which are the other police officers, white and Black, are doing something that he knows is wrong, guess what? He has to join them sometimes because he's part of that system. If he doesn't join them, they're going to call him out. You know what I'm saying? So it's just so much to this. My takeaway is do something every single day.
Well, the whole thing also that I wanted to say is about the vote. That the people got to go out there
and vote
in their community. If you want change, you got to go to vote.
Yeah.
You cannot speak about change and you're not part of it. You know, you got to belong. I agree with that young man who said
You got to belong to a certain movement. You know, there's a lot of movement around. There's Action Network in Harlem. I think Al Charlton is doing a great job there. You know, people got to participate, in change.
Also, in terms of organizing and being organizing, everything is always very reactive. I heard people say, it's almost as though we have to wait for somebody to be killed or some kind of injustice, and then people rise up, which is a natural reaction. What you realize is that if something happens, people need just daily political education or understanding of the situation. So when things actually do kick off, it can be done in an organized manner. So you get a lot of people as well that, I remember the chairman used to say, if I can't trust you with a flyer, how can I trust you with a gun? Just talking to people, going out, flyering, educating. It's a daily work. And we used to say that we may have our jobs, but our career is revolution. It's a lifestyle. Continually educating ourselves, continually educating the people and providing our own institutions. So whether it's a Saturday school, whether it's a shop that gives back to the community, whether it's a community garden or just a space for people to go and meet, that's completely in our control. Because what we need is dual and contending power. And that's essentially what it is. Our own schools, the ability to control and police ourselves. The Jews have it over here. The ability to look after our own healthcare system. It's just power over our own lives. So I think it's just a responsibility we all have to take. And I think finding an organization, doing something that benefits you, your people, and that's going towards the freedom of our people as a whole. And yes, we have to work within the system. And one thing about America, it allows you a lot of democratic space. You can stand up here and say what you want about the president, whatever else, you're not going to get killed. There's other countries that don't allow that democratic space. But it's how you use that.